Welcome to the channel. In this video, we're diving into the world of hidden treasures as we explore the four most expensive and ultra-rare U.S. coins, including the Susan B. Anthony Silver Dollar, the Sacagawea Gold Dollar, and the Jefferson Nickel with a rare P-Mint mark. Even in dirty or worn condition, these seemingly ordinary coins could be worth thousands or even millions of dollars today. So before you spend that old coin, stick around, because you might just be holding a fortune in your hands. First up, the 1972 United States quarter dollar is one of those coins that looks ordinary at first glance, yet quietly carries the weight of American history in its metal. Struck during a time when the U.S. was navigating economic pressure, inflation, and global change, this Washington quarter was never meant to be rare or flashy. Millions were produced, passed hand to hand, spent without a second thought. But history has a strange habit of turning everyday objects into future legends, and the 1972 quarter is a perfect example of how value is not always born at the moment of creation. By 1972, the quarter had fully transitioned away from silver, meaning these coins were made of a copper-nickel-clad composition rather than precious metal. This disappointed many people at the time, but also marked a new era in American coinage. The design still honored George Washington, symbolizing stability and continuity, even as the country itself was going through massive social and economic shifts. Every 1972 quarter is a small time capsule of that moment in U.S. history. Mint marks play a quiet but important role in the story of these coins. In 1972, quarters were struck primarily at Philadelphia and Denver. Philadelphia coins usually carry no mint mark, while Denver coins display a small D. These tiny letters may seem insignificant, yet to collectors they represent different production environments, different die conditions, and different chances for unusual characteristics to appear. Number 1972 quarters were struck for regular circulation in San Francisco, which already adds a subtle boundary to the year's production story. Condition is where the real separation begins. A 1972 quarter that has lived a hard life scratches, worn details, dull surfaces will almost always remain a face value coin. But examples that survived in unusually fine or nearly untouched condition tell a very different story. Coins that escape circulation early, perhaps pulled from rolls or stored away unknowingly, can show sharp-haired details on Washington, crisp lettering, and clean fields. These features dramatically increase desirability, especially when originality is preserved. Sometimes collectors talk about gold-colored quarters or coins with unusual shine, and this is where caution becomes critical. There is no officially issued gold 1972 quarter for circulation. Any gold tone usually comes from environmental exposure, plating after minting, or chemical reactions over time. While these coins can look striking and grab attention, they are not inherently rare unless the appearance is linked to a documented mint error or historically verifiable process. Beauty alone does not equal rarity in the numismatic world. What truly excites collectors are unexpected anomalies created during the minting process. Die wear, weak strikes, or unusual textures can turn an otherwise common coin into a conversation piece. Some 1972 quarters show softer details due to worn dies, while others appear unusually sharp because they were struck early in a die's life. These subtle differences are studied closely by experienced eyes, and this is where knowledge becomes power. It is important to understand that stories of ordinary 1972 quarters being worth millions overnight are myths fueled by exaggeration and misunderstanding. True million-dollar coins exist, but they come from extreme rarity, historic significance, or one-of-a-kind errors backed by expert authentication. A 1972 quarter could become valuable, sometimes surprisingly so, but value grows through verified uniqueness, exceptional condition, and collector demand, not magic. That said, dismissing these coins entirely would be a mistake. Coin history teaches us that today's overlooked pieces often become tomorrow's sought-after survivors. As decades pass, pristine examples naturally disappear. Coins once seen as common slowly become harder to find in top condition, and demand quietly increases. The 1972 quarter is still early in this long journey, which is why patient collectors pay attention now rather than later. The real power of a coin like this is not just moneyed as knowledge. Understanding what you hold, knowing when not to clean it, recognizing original surfaces, and resisting the urge to rush into selling out of habits that separate smart collectors from regretful ones. Many valuable coins were destroyed by polishing or altered by people who did not realize that originality is sacred in numismatics. History adds another layer of fascination. These quarters circulated during the Vietnam War era, during cultural revolutions, during moments that shaped modern America. They were in the pockets of factory workers, soldiers, students, and families. Holding one today connects you to millions of unseen stories, and that emotional weight is something collectors deeply value, even if it never shows up on a price tag. The idea that a single coin can change a fortune overnight is tempting, and while rare, the 1977 United States quarter dollar belongs to the long-running Washington Quarter Series, a coin that carries not just monetary value, but decades of American history in its metal. By 1977, the quarter had already become a symbol of everyday America used by millions, yet quietly preserving the legacy of George Washington, the nation's first president. This year falls in a fascinating period when silver had already disappeared from circulation coins, and the U.S. Mint was experimenting with massive production, which makes certain examples from 1977 far more interesting than people realize. In 1977, the U.S. Mint struck quarters at three main mints: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, D mint mark; and San Francisco, S mint mark. Most people think these coins are common, and many are, but history teaches us that value is never just about age. It's about survival, condition, and rarity within abundance. A quarter that escaped heavy circulation, damage, or poor striking can become a completely different creature in today's collector market. The Philadelphia 1977 quarter has no mint mark, and it was produced in enormous numbers. Yet within this ocean of coins, a tiny fraction were struck with exceptional sharpness, flawless surfaces, and strong details, especially on Washington's hair and the eagle's feathers. In ultrafine or near-perfect condition, these coins become scarce because most were spent scratched or worn down. Coins like this were never meant to survive untouched, which is exactly why collectors hunt them today. The Denver minted 1977 D quarter tells a slightly different story. Denver coins often show stronger strikes, but they also circulated heavily in the western and central United States. Finding a 1977 D quarter today with crisp edges, blazing luster, and no contact marks is extremely difficult. In top mint state condition, these quarters can command serious collector attention, not because they are flashy, but because they represent perfection from an imperfect system. San Francisco produced the 1977 S quarters, mostly intended for proof sets rather than circulation. These proof coins were struck with specially prepared dies and polished planchets, giving them mirror-like fields and razor-sharp details. While many proof coins were saved, only the best examples, those without haze, scratches, or spotting, remain desirable today. A flawless 1977 S proof quarter is not pocket change. It is a historical artifact of mint craftsmanship. Now let's talk about the gold sticker round you mentioned, because this is where many people get confused. A 1977 quarter is not made of gold, and the U.S. Mint never officially released gold-plated quarters for circulation. However, some private companies later gold-plated ordinary quarters as collectibles or souvenirs. The gold layer is extremely thin and does not add intrinsic metal value, but if such a coin remains in perfect condition, sealed, and visually striking, it can still attract niche collectors. Condition is a true king in coin collecting, and for 1977 quarters, it is everything. A fine condition coin with full luster, no corrosion, clean rims, and sharp design elements can multiply in value compared to a worn example. Collectors are not buying a quarter, they are buying a moment frozen in time. The closer your coin looks to the day it left the mint, the stronger its pull in the market. Errors and unusual striking characteristics are another hidden world. Some 1977 quarters show off-center strikes, double details, or unusual planchet flaws. These are not damage. They are mint mistakes, and they turn ordinary coins into conversation-stopping pieces. A genuine mint error can elevate a simple quarter into a high-value collectible because no two errors are ever exactly the same. Historically, the Washington Quarter Series represents stability, continuity, and national identity. By the late 1970s, America was navigating economic change, inflation, and modernization, and these coins quietly passed to the hands of millions during that era. Holding a 1977 quarter is holding a piece of everyday American life from nearly half a century ago, a time capsule disguised as loose change. Now, about the dream of overnight fortunaires, the honest collector truth. A regular circulated 1977 quarter will not make someone a billionaire, but a top-graded, near-perfect error type or elite-proof example can be worth far more than people expect, sometimes reaching hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Real wealth in coins comes from knowledge, patience, and condition not panic selling or hype. The biggest mistake people make is selling too fast without understanding what they have. Coins should be evaluated carefully, stored properly, and never cleaned aggressively. Cleaning destroys value instantly. A well-preserved 1977 quarter, especially with strong eye appeal or unusual characteristics, deserves respect and professional evaluation before any decisive. The 1989 United States quarter dollar looks ordinary at first glance, but history has a habit of hiding extraordinary stories inside common objects, and this coin is one of them. Minted during the final years of the Cold War, when America was on the edge of massive political and economic change, the 1989 quarter represents the last breath of an era before the modern digital age took over money, banking, and collecting. Millions of people carried these quarters in their pockets without realizing that certain examples would quietly become legends among serious collectors decades later. The Denver Mint, marked with a small but powerful D on the coin, produced an enormous number of quarters in 1989. Most of them were meant for daily use, coffee machines, buses, and grocery stores, not for collections. Yet history always creates survivors. Coins that escaped heavy circulation, coins that were struck unusually sharp, coins that carried subtle minting anomalies, and coins that remained untouched in fine or near-perfect condition became the foundation of value in the world of numismatics. Rarity is not always about low mintage. It is about how many remain in exceptional condition today. What makes the 1989 D quarter special is not the metal itself, because it is a copper nickel-clad coin, but the quality of the strike and preservation. The Denver Mint in that year produced coins with varying sharpness, and only a tiny fraction show razor-clear details in Washington's hair, the eagle's feathers, and the rim lettering. Coins graded at the very top level by professional grading services have sold for astonishing prices, not because they are common, but because they are nearly impossible to find today in that state. Collectors pay insane premiums for perfection. A 1989 D quarter in average condition is just pocket change, but a coin that looks frozen in time, untouched by wear, with glowing original luster and flawless surfaces, enters a completely different universe. These are the coins that auction houses fight. Over these are the coins that wealthy collectors quietly hunt. These are the coins that turn a forgotten drawer into a life-changing discovery, not overnight fantasy, but real financial impact when sold correctly. Now let's talk about the mysterious gold sticker coins people often mention. The gold color does not mean the coin is made of gold, and that misunderstanding has trapped many sellers into being fooled or underpaid. In most cases, the gold appearance comes from private plating or promotional coating done outside the U.S. Mint. While this plating alone does not create value, it becomes interesting when paired with an exceptional underlying coin, especially one that is uncirculated and visually stunning. Serious collectors care about originality, but niche collectors sometimes pay strong money for visually striking examples when condition is elite. The real hidden power of the 1989 D quarter lies in errors and anomalies that escape the mint unnoticed. Slight off-center strikes, double details, unusually strong or weak mint marks, and striking irregularities can push value dramatically higher. These are not mistakes you see with the naked eye instantly. They reveal themselves slowly, under magnification to trained eyes. When authenticated, such coins can command prices that feel unreal compared to their face value. The historical timing of this coin adds another layer of importance. 1989 was the year the Berlin Wall fell, a symbol of global transformation. Coins minted during this time marked the end of the traditional manufacturing era at U.S. mints before automation and quality controls changed forever. For collectors, this makes the 1989 quarter part of a closing chapter, a physical memory of a turning point in world history that cannot be recreated. What truly changes fortunes is not hype, but knowledge and patience. People lose money when they rush to sell, when they trust unverified buyers, or when they don't understand grading. The difference between a 10-cent coin and a four-figure or higher sale often comes down to professional authentication, proper storage, and selling at the right platform to the right audience. Smart collectors never sell raw coins of potential value without expert evaluation. There is a reason experienced numismatists say coins choose their owners. The 1989 D quarter is not a magic ticket for everyone, but for the few who possess an extraordinary example, it becomes a silent asset, growing more desirable as high-grade survivors disappear into private vaults. Time works in favor of rarity, and rarity works in favor of value. If you truly believe you have a 1989 D quarter in fine or near-perfect condition, untouched, sharp, and brilliant, then the worst mistake is desperation. Coins like this do not reward impatience. They reward understanding, verification, and strategic selling. History has shown again and again that the biggest wins in collecting come to the year 1965 changed the entire history of United States coins forever, and the quarter dollar from this year stands at the center of that revolution. Before 1965, U.S. quarters were made of real silver, carrying intrinsic metal value along with history. But in 1965, due to rising silver prices and massive hoarding by the public, the U.S. government made a bold and controversial decision that shocked collectors and ordinary Americans alike. The silver was removed, and a new copper-nickel-clad quarter was born. This single change instantly turned the 1965 quarter into one of the most discussed, misunderstood, and hunted coins in American numismatic history. The 1965 Washington quarter does not carry a mint mark, and that absence itself tells a deep story during this transitional period. The U.S. Mint deliberately removed mint marks to stop people from hoarding coins from specific mints. Every 1965 quarter, whether struck in Philadelphia or Denver, was released without any mint mark, making identification mysterious and fueling decades of rumors. Many people still believe that a missing mint mark makes the coin rare, but the real magic lies deeper in errors, strike anomalies, and transitional metal compositions. Now, let's talk about the gold-colored appearance that causes hearts to race and dreams to explode. Some 1965 quarters appear golden due to plating, environmental toning, or experimental mint exposure. While the U.S. Mint never officially issued a gold quarter in 1965, gold-plated 1965 quarters exist, and they confuse millions of people. These pieces are often privately plated after leaving the mint, sometimes decades later, although most gold-plated quarters are not worth millions. Certain professionally plated early specimens combined with rare errors can reach astonishing prices when authenticated. What truly separates an ordinary 1965 quarter from a life-changing treasure is mint era rarity. This is where fortunes are made, not overnight fantasies, but real collector demand. Some 1965 quarters were struck on wrong planchets, including experimental silver blanks left over from 1960. These extremely rare transitional era coins are among the most valuable quarters in U.S. history. A genuine 1965 quarter struck on a silver planchet can sell for tens of thousands of dollars, sometimes more, depending on condition and certification. Then there are double die errors, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and broad strikes from 1965 that command massive attention. These errors happened during a time of chaos in the mint, when production was rushed to meet public demand. Machines were overworked, quality control slipped, and history was accidentally created. A sharply struck 1965 era quarter in fine or uncirculated condition can turn a pocket coin into a serious asset. Condition plays a brutal role in value. A fine condition circulated 1965 quarter is usually worth face value, but a sharply preserved coin with original luster, clean surfaces, and strong details can move into collector territory. Coins graded MS-67 or higher are extremely difficult to find, and when they appear at auction, collectors fight for them aggressively. These are not everyday finds, they are survivors. The myths about millions of dollars overnight come from misunderstanding rarity versus survival. While no normal 1965 quarter will make someone a billionaire, specific verified error pieces have sold for prices that change lives. The danger is selling too fast, too cheap, or without proper authentication. Many people lose real money by trusting dealers who dismiss rare coins without examination. The 1965 quarter carries emotional power because it represents a turning point, the end of silver money, and the beginning of modern currency. Collectors don't just buy metal. They buy moments frozen in time. That's why certain 1965 quarters are locked away in vaults, museums, and private collections, never to return to circulation again. If you believe you have a special 1965 quarter gold tone, unusually heavy, weakly struck, or visually different, do not clean it. Do not polish it, and do not rush to sell it. Cleaning destroys value instantly. Real wealth in coins comes from patience, knowledge, and verification, not hype. The true power of the 1965 quarter is not magic, but history, mistakes, and survival. In a world flooded with ordinary coins, a single authentic error from this year stands like a king among millions. That is why collectors still hunt it, still argue over it, and still dream about it, not because every coin is priceless, but because some are once-in-a-generation discoveries. The 1967 quarter dollar of the United States was born in a time of tension, transition, and quiet revolution. America was moving fast. The Vietnam era was reshaping the nation, and behind the scenes, the U.S. Mint was fighting a massive coin shortage. People were hoarding silver coins, melting them down, hiding them away like treasure, and the government had to act fast. The 1967 quarter became part of the special emergency production period, a moment in history when normal rules were suspended, and that alone makes this coin historically powerful and deeply fascinating to collectors even today. Unlike many other U.S. quarters, the 1967 quarter carries no mint mark at all, and this was not a mistake. During the years 1965 through 1967, the U.S. Mint deliberately removed mint marks to discourage collectors and speculators from hoarding coins. Whether a 1967 quarter was struck in Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco, it looks the same on the surface, creating mystery and confusion that still surrounds this coin decades later. That missing mint mark is one of the reasons a 1967 quarter feels secretive, almost rebellious, like a coin hiding its true origin. Now here is where many people misunderstand the real story. The standard 1967 quarter is not silver. By this time, the U.S. had already removed silver from circulating quarters, replacing it with a copper core layer between nickel-clad surfaces. To the untrained eye, it still looked like money from the Silver Age, but inside it marked the beginning of a new metallic era. This transition year gives the 1967 quarter enormous historical weight, even if most examples are not instantly worth fortunes. However, value is not born from metal alone. Value is born from condition, rarity, and mistakes, and this is where the 1967 quarter becomes dangerous in the right way. A normal, worn 1967 quarter is common, but a perfectly preserved example, untouched by circulation, glowing with original mint luster, can shock people who think old coins must be silver to matter. In exceptionally fine condition, certified by professionals, these quarters can sell for hundreds and sometimes thousands of dollars, especially when demand spikes and supply tightens. Then there are the error coins, the real sleepers that turn ordinary pocket change into legends. Some 1967 quarters were struck on the wrong planchets. Some show dramatic off-center strikes, double dies, or improper metal bonding. These are not Google myths. These are the kinds of mint errors that collectors hunt aggressively. A genuine, dramatic mint error from 1967 can cross into five-figure territory, and in rare museum-level cases, values can climb far beyond what the average person imagines possible. You mentioned gold sticker round coins, and this is a critical point many people get wrong. Any 1967 quarter that is gold-colored, gold-plated, or sealed in a decorative round with a sticker did not leave the U.S. Mint. That way, these were altered later by private companies for novelty or marketing. While they may look impressive and feel valuable, gold plating alone does not make a coin rare or priceless. True value comes from originality, not decoration. A fortune-changing coin is one that remains exactly as history created it. Still, never underestimate psychological value in storytelling power coins like the 1967 quarter attract attention, because they sit at the crossroads of eras, between silver and clad, between old collecting habits and modern numismatics. That historical tension gives them long-term appeal. Serious collectors understand that coins tied to policy changes, shortages, and national anxiety often grow in importance over time, especially when preserved in pristine condition. The idea that one coin can change your life overnight is powerful, and while it should never be believed blindly, it should also never be mocked. History proves that people have dismissed ordinary-looking coins that later turn out to be rare errors worth enormous sums. The key difference between regret and reward is knowledge, patience, and professional verification. Spending a potentially rare coin without understanding it is how fortunes quietly disappear. If you ever hold a 1967 quarter that feels different to unusually sharp details, strange alignment, odd weight, or metal color that cannot be explained, not rush. Do not clean it. Do not plate it. Do not sell it cheap. Coins do not shout their value. They whisper it to those who know how to listen. Authentication and grading are the gates that separate fantasy from reality, and crossing those gates is how collectors protect themselves from loss. In the end, the 1967 quarter dollar is not just a coin. It is a witness to a turning point in American monetary history. It represents a government reacting to fear, a public responding with hoarding, and a nation quietly saying goodbye to silver money. Most are common. Yes, but history teaches us that within common things,